If you've ever had a load rejected, you already know this. Getting the freight reworked is only half the problem, because when that trailer shows back up to the receiver a second time, the real question becomes, what are they actually looking for before they say yes? Not what people assume. Not does it look better than before, but the specific things that make a receiver confident enough to accept the load and move on with their day. That's what we're breaking down today. And this matters because a second rejection of the same shifted load is brutal. The second rejection costs time, money, credibility, and usually triggers a whole new chain of problems. So let's talk about how receivers actually think after a rework, and how to rework freight in a way that gets accepted the second time it hits the receiver's dock. First, you need to understand the receiver's mindset. A receiver is not randomly inspecting your pallet when the load returns after being reworked. They are asking three very practical questions while inspecting the load. Is this product safe to unload and move through our building? Can we receive this into inventory without creating problems? And does this product meet our internal standards so it doesn't come back on us later? Every decision the receiver makes is related to one of those buckets. So let's start with the biggest factor that the receivers are considering: stability and safety. When a load gets rejected the first time, instability is usually the root cause. So after a rework, the receiver is looking at each pallet and asking, if my forklift driver lifts this, turns, and drives a couple hundred feet, does the pallet stay together? That's it. They're looking for pallets that are leaning. They're watching for shifting in the pallets. They're watching for loose cases and soft corners. And there are a few red flags that get attention immediately. Product overhanging the pallet is a big red flag. If cases hang past the pallet's edge, they get crushed, torn, and unstable fast. Height matters too. Most receivers have max pallet heights for a reason. Too tall means top heavy. Top heavy means tip risk. Other times, receivers cannot fit pallets into their racking positions for storage if the pallets are stacked too tall. Then there's stretch wrap, and this is where a lot of reworks fail. Receivers don't care if the pallet looks pretty, they care if the wrap actually holds. Good wrap means the bottom layers are locked to the pallet. It means consistent tension all the way up, and it means the top layer of boxes on the pallet are captured so it can't slide during turns or braking. If the freight has sharp edges or corners, corner protection matters too. Sharp edges can tear the shrink wrap, and cut wrap turns into shifting freight very quickly. And one thing people forget, the pallet itself matters. If the freight is rebuilt perfectly but sitting on a cracked, weak, or questionable pallet, that can still trigger a rejection. From the receiver's point of view, a bad pallet is a safety issue waiting to happen. Here's the simplest way to think about it. After a rework, the pallet needs to survive at least 3 forklift moves, moving the pallet out of the trailer, into staging, and into its final storage spot. If the pallet can't survive those 3 moves, it's still a problem. The next factor is pallet configuration. This is the way the product is stacked on the pallet. Most people assume stability is enough, but it is not. Many receivers have very specific pallet rules that must be met. Their rules may include factors such as max height, only 1 SKU per pallet, only 1 purchase order per pallet, and a specific stack pattern to follow per SKU. And if your rework ignores the receiver's rules, the load can still get turned away, even if it's rock solid. But why? Because receivers are running a system. They're unloading fast, scanning fast, putting freight away fast. If your pallet configuration doesn't match how their building operates, it slows everything down. And slow freight is risky freight, especially at large retail or grocery distribution centers, where compliance ties directly to performance metrics and chargebacks. That leads into the next thing receivers care about: SKU integrity and segregation. This one surprises people. Loads don't just get rejected for damage. They get rejected because the product is palletized wrong. Different SKUs may be on the same pallet. Different purchase orders may be combined. Lot codes may be mixed when they shouldn't be, or cases may be flipped so labels aren't visible. From the receiver's side, that's an inventory nightmare. One bad receive can turn into pick errors, shrink, and customer complaints downstream. So after a rework, the receiver is asking, did fixing the physical problem create a bigger inventory problem? If they can't clearly identify what's on the pallet, where it belongs, and how it should be received, then the receive is going to hesitate. Which brings us to an important factor: labeling and paperwork. When a receiver accepts freight, they're not just unloading it, they're receiving it into a system, so they're checking. Does the purchase order match the appointment? Does the bill of lading make sense? Are pallet labels present if required? Are case labels readable and scannable? If labels are missing, damaged, or unreadable, receiving slows down fast. And at busy facilities, slow receiving often turns into refusal, not because they don't want to help, but because they don't have the time. The next factor being considered is visible damage. This is where judgment comes into play. Sometimes receivers will accept minor damage. Sometimes they they won't accept any damage at all. What they're really deciding is, am I willing to own this once it's inside my building? Because once they sign for it, responsibility shifts to the receiving warehouse. So after a rework, the receiving warehouse is looking for crushed corners, broken cases, leaking product, contamination risk, and anything that signals future problems. Even if the pallet is stable, visible damage can still kill acceptance if it conflicts with their standards or creates food safety or retail compliance issues. Compliance issues may include broken glass or visible bugs in the trailer. There's also something less obvious that matters a lot. Receiver readiness. Can the receiver unload this easily? They want pallets that fit their flow. Forks can get in cleanly, nothing sticking out, nothing wedged too tight, no creative engineering. If the dock crew has to fight your freight, they'll reject it or delay it. And delays can be just as expensive as rejections once detention, rescheduling, and missed windows pile up. Finally, there's one thing that dramatically improves second attempt acceptance: proof that the problem was actually fixed. Receivers don't like surprises. If a load was rejected once and now it's back, they want confidence. It's not the same issue hidden behind closed doors. The easiest way to give them that confidence is documentation. Photos before the rework, photos after the rework, notes on what was corrected, count of pallets that were rebuilt, what if any damaged product was removed. That documentation isn't just for the shipper. It helps the receiver say yes faster because it removes uncertainty. So before you send a reworked load back, run through this quick checklist. Are the pallets stable enough for multiple forklift moves? Is there any overhang, leaning, or loose cases? Is the product stacked to the correct configuration and height for that receiver? Are the pallets good quality? Are SKUs and POs properly separated? Are labels readable and aligned with paperwork? Was any visible damage documented and addressed? Are photos ready if anyone asks? If you can confidently say yes to those items, then your odds of acceptance at the second delivery go way up. Here's the big takeaway. Most people rework freight thinking only about being able to get the pallets in and out of the trailer. But receivers are thinking about the next 30 feet and the next 300 feet. They're asking, how does this move through my building without creating risk? When you rework freight with that mindset, rejections after reworking a load stop being random. Rejections become predictable and preventable. If you ever find yourself dealing with a shifted load, a rejected delivery, or a last-minute rework situation, this is exactly what our Tampa, Florida team helps with.